Hello there. Welcome back to Between the Lines, the YouTube channel where two best-selling authors talk about their writing life and the process of writing and basically what's going on in their career as a full-time writer. Today, we're going to talk about a writing retreat that we both love and we try to go to every year. It's called, I'm gonna get the name wrong again. Rainforest Writers Village. Is that it? Rainforest Writers Village, right? It has a village in it. Yep. And we're going to talk about why we like going to it, what we try to get done there. And Diana, do you want to explain what Rainforest Writers Village is all about?
Yeah. Well,
Some of what it's about.
It's nothing like session two. Session two is about something different.
It's the exciting session.
Right. They still get a lot of work done, but we're not as exciting as two.
So how many sessions?
Right now there's four, and it started out. Devon and I have been going for 8 to 10 years, somewhere in there, and it started out with two sessions. Patrick Swenson, who's a writer and also the owner of Fairwood Press, and he's a fabulous guy. He's been running this for longer than we've been going. I'm not even
Do you know
sure
why he started running it? Have you heard the background on that?
No.
He used to work for the original owners, which I think are still the owners.
Yeah, okay, I remember
right
that.
back when he was a teenager on his summers. And so when he grew up and started this publishing company and became a writer and stuff, he approached the owners and asked if they would like for him to bring writers in the off season to just kind of fill the cabins and the motel and stuff like that, fill their off season time. But boy, did it take off from there, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't know if he thought he was doing it once, but boy, no more. This is an institution almost now over here.
Well, he added a third session and now a fourth. I mean, and he used to also teach high school, and he just retired, so he's able to put more time into this. And he doesn't make money off of this. This is a labor of love, which is amazing. Also, anyway, so what happens is 30 to 35 writers descend on this very rustic location. It's a lodge, but it's not the Lake Quinault Lodge. It's in Lake Quinault, Washington, but it's not the Lake Quinault Lodge. It's a more rustic lodge. And there's some cabins, and there's a little RV parking area if you want to do RV. And there's a kind of a two-story motelish sort of building that overlooks the lake or overlooks the rainforest, depending on which room you get. And there's some land around it, so there's a lot of places you can walk. When you want to walk outside, you can walk up to a waterfall. You can walk up and see elk in the morning. Anyway, so we arrive there on a Wednesday and we leave on a Sunday. And in between, people do as all the things they want to do. And what you and I have done is try to write maniacally and fast. So we want to produce as many words as possible during those, what's essentially 4.5 days or 3.5 days.
We get up Wednesday, and so this kind of goes around Patrick's structure, which is he puts up the whiteboard, which is where the word counts. Everybody records their word count as they're working on stuff, or how many bodies they've killed. Like that's one of the things that people keep track of, how many people they've killed,
how many pancakes they've made.
Right. Yeah. There's random things being kept track of on the whiteboard. But the important one, the one that almost everybody is curious about, because we're all Snoopy writers, is how much are we each writing while we're up there? And it's not a competition, but you kind of also want to put a number on the board that looks good, right?
Right. And it's very motivating. It's very motivating.
And there's prizes at the end for the highest number. So there is a reason to try to get a high number, because there are prizes that I think almost everybody leaves with a prize of some sort, which are donated by the writers who come there. So books and crafts and stuff, right?
And
but I was going to say
Wednesday night at around
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it starts Wednesday night at like sundown or something, 7:00 or something afternoon.
About 7:00, and then it ends as officially 11:00 on Sunday, when we all gather to find out how counted what words, give out the prizes, the awards,
and we're out of there at noon. So it ends at 11 on Sunday, and everybody's out of there at noon. So
right, yeah,
Right. So that's part of Wednesday and part of Sunday, but they aren't even a full day together really. So
right. No,
it's it's
well,
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's
depends on if
three
you're one of
solid
the late.
days.
It's one if you're if you're one of the late night writers, then you're up Wednesday night putting in a lot of words,
That's
right?
true. That's true. And he does have accommodations both for late night writers, people who are late nights, and for early birds. And part of
Yeah,
that accommodation,
you can write in the lounge all night long if you want
right,
to.
which is the restaurant up there. It's their actual Salmon House restaurant and the lounge attached to the restaurant. And you
Is their bar lounge area? Yeah.
and they open it up for us just exclusively. There are a few people that sometimes come in for dinner that are, in the area, but it's
Hmm.
kind of out of the way and it's off season. So it's mostly just us writers. You'll go into the lounge, all wood on the inside with animal stuffed heads everywhere and little shiny lights and a giant fireplace. Windows overlooking the lake with booths in front of them. And at every single window at the booths, there's just writers going, 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 and the round
And there's
tables in the
nice
middle.
plugins on
Yes,
most
good plugins.
everyone. Yeah.
And bad internet, which is terrific because you can't get stuck losing hours goofing around on the internet.
It's like built-in. What's that program that freedom built-in
Freedom.
freedom? Yeah.
Yeah. I swear
So
something about the bad internet is part of what makes that place work.
right, right.
Yeah.
And then there isn't a lot of stuff to do around. If you want to, you can go into town to ooh, what's the
Town.
name of that sit town? Amanda Park. Amanda Park?
Ooh, very good. Yeah. I've been
And
to
they have
Amanda Park. There's a gas station, a post
with
office,
the
a
gas station
diner.
has the little diner in it. Doesn't isn't the gas station and the diner kind of part
Well, there's a
together?
gas station on the other side of the road
Oh,
too.
okay, okay. And then there's the internet cafe, which serves food, which has some that's nice. It's a little coffee shop that serves
Has
little
coffee.
foods. And we've had to go in there because when I was teaching, I had to be able to I had to have to check in with my classes every single day. That was part of the job. So we would have to go into town, and now I don't do have to do that right
Town.
now.
I don't even think it's a town. It does have a post office though, so maybe that counts as a town. I know you only give post offices
It's got
out
a
to.
name and it's on a map.
Yes, but it could be like an incorporated something. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's more town to it, but not a lot. Because I even talked to the owner one of the times when we were getting, because there are very few food options. Sometimes you'll go get a burger there. They do have a pizza
Right.
joint too, come to think of it.
I think
But
the burger is the pizza joint, right? Aren't they same? Can't you get?
yeah, I was saying the internet cafe. She also serves food, and
Right,
I
right,
was
right.
talking
The
to
other one.
her, and I asked her if she lived there. She lived in a whole nother place because like there's not. It's a little. Anyway, that's part of what makes it work too. There's not a lot of distractions.
Right, right. And it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. I mean, then and there's a little creek that runs by the Salmon House Lounge and stuff, and by cabin number 5, which is where I get to stay this year with my roommate of many years. And in there is a nice fireplace, and you
How
can
do you know?
sit.
Has he put out the cabins already?
Well, I don't think so, but
You
he
have
had to
insider
juggle.
information.
No, he had to juggle some rooms to so that somebody could switch, and he had somebody drop out, so he was able to say that if we took cabin 5, then this other person could take the other room and get it. And so we did that.
Oh, okay,
So
nice.
kind of inside information, but mostly it was a juggling thing.
Which is Patrick does that too because there's all these writers who say they're going to go, and then he has his waiting list, and then by the time of sometimes dozens and dozens of people on the waiting list. And then as it gets closer and closer, life happens and people have to cancel or switch or want a roommate or don't want a roommate. And he's got to coordinate all the rooms and getting everybody as close to what they want as possible. And that's a job
And it sells out fast. Like when
in
he
5 minutes.
yeah, he opens it up first to people who've attended before, and it usually sells out really fast, and then people get on the wait list. And but the nice thing is almost always the people on the wait list get a chance to come if they want to. No, they might not hear about it until relatively close, so they might not be able to take advantage, but they at least get to go. But it is so nice because during that time, we get a ton of writing done. I usually shoot for between 20 and 30,000 words. You usually shoot for 10,000 words a day
A
on your
day,
long days,
3 days, 3 days. So
plus
30,000. And then if I get any on the Wednesday or the Sunday, that's extra.
bonus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I I try to. I usually will get a 10,000 day, but I cannot seem to sustain that over all 3 days.
It's
So
a rough go because a
yeah,
10,000 word day for me or for you means 1,000 words for 10 hours. Every hour for 10 hours, you're right. So it's a long day. It's 10 hours of writing at the computer, and you have to hit that 1,000 word every hour. So, and somewhere in there, you have to like eat lunch and I don't know, go to the
and we so
bathroom.
you've got to take breaks. You got to visit with people, socialize. You got to kind of refresh the batteries a
Yeah,
little
I'm
bit.
not good at visiting and
Yeah,
socializing.
but
I'm just like,
it's
I've
not.
got 10,000 words to write.
Yeah, but it's not a lot of. It's not necessarily a lot of visiting. It's just enough to sort of feel grounded. And the other thing is that what we do, you and I, not everybody does this, but you and I tend to work on something, on new words when we're there. I won't
Hmm.
say it has to be something new, but we will go in with the purpose of getting 30,000 or 25,000 or whatever on a project that are all new words. This time I'm going to be working on a novella that is all new, out of my Horngate books, but I have gone in before where I have been working on a novel and I've just worked further or I've started new things. And what are you working on this year for yours?
I'll be working on the if things go if things go to plan, and they rarely do. I'll be working on the third book of this cozy fantasy series I'm working on, because I'll have book one done this month, book two done next month, and by the time I hit Rainforest, which will be in March, I should be in book three. So I don't know how far into book three I'm going to be. Like, I haven't even outlined it yet, but my goal up there is to get 30,000 words of that book written. So that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping it lands that way, because I would love that. That sounds like a fun project to up there.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, we're also, what that means is one of the ways we get 1,000 words at a time. Now, there are writers who are very fast writers and very prolific and can just boom, 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 boom.
There's a
But
writer, and I can't remember his name, but he takes himself out of the word count on the whiteboard competition up for the prizes, because he can write something like 60,000 or 70,000 words while he's up there. Like, he can
that's
double or
insane.
triple. Yeah, it's
I have
amazing.
such
It's such a neat.
envy. Such
Yeah, I know. It's so cool. But that just goes to show you every writer is different. Some people get 1,000 words up there in 4 days, or three
and
days.
are
They can
really super happy about that.
absolutely, because there are some writers who go up there to get 1,000 perfect words, right?
And that's the thing with us. What we're trying to do is get what zero draft, which is the unrefined, uncorrected, unfixed, just vomit it out as much as possible so we have something to work with later. And so it's somewhat hard to shut down that. Did I just use that word twice in the same paragraph? Should I worry about that? Turn that off and just say, screw it. Maybe I did. Doesn't matter. I'm going to keep just going, 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 going. I'm just going to get the words down until and come back and revise at another point when it's done. And so when you're in that mindset, when you push yourself into that mindset and you're writing a lot of words, your creativity can just go boom, and you're just uh, doing new fun things, and that's also fun because then you sit there and um, you're happy. You're happy, and so that makes you happy to produce more words because you're thinking, "This is so fun! Look what I just did there on that page. I'm going to do some more of that weird stuff," and so that really can push the writing.
Yeah, I
And
think the
I was going
speed
to say,
too. We were talking about that earlier this week, about there's a magic thing that a book is going to take a certain amount of time to write. Like, it's not usually not a fast project. Most people don't write a book in a day. You're going to have some days, if not months, if not years, to write a book, right? But one of the things that both you and I have discovered is that if you can write the book as quickly as you are comfortable writing it, the more quickly you can write that first draft, it's easier to keep all the things that you're trying to make happen in the book in your front of your head, so that you can get them all onto the page. I have I have had times when I'm writing something and it's taken me like 2 weeks to get through a chapter, and it
yeah,
feels like that chapter is the slowest part of the book, and it's boring and it takes forever, and maybe I should just cut it out because readers aren't going to like it, and it just took forever. And when I go back and read it, no, it's a normal length chapter. It's just fine. It's no boring than any of the other chapters. It's fine, but because my personal real life experience of writing it took 2 weeks. It felt like that chapter, it took, 2 weeks to happen. But when you read it, it takes like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And so
Right.
there's something about writing in a more condensed time that lets you get story out, um, hold the story more in your head as you're writing it. And it when it works well, when you've got that, I'm writing at a really good speed so I can keep the story in my head, but not such a speed that's going to burn me out, because that's the other
Right.
thing that can happen. But when you can hit that sweet spot, it's fantastic. Rainforest pace will burn me out, so I only do it at Rainforest.
Right. Exactly. That's the other thing, as you say. But the momentum of really getting those words on the page is great. And then it can be a little deflating because you come home and then you're slowing back down to ordinary pace and you think, but at Rainforest, I was doing 10,000 words a day. And then you're here and at home and you think, well, I managed to get 2,000 words and it took a while. How come? And then you think, well, because the glory of going to a writer's retreat is you have no responsibilities. You don't have to well, if there's no Wi-Fi, you're not checking emails and all that kind of stuff. You're not reading the news. But on top of that, you're not fixing other people food or fixing it even for yourself, because you do go in and there's cabin 6 always has food that you can make or pick up. But you go and order food at the restaurant. You're not and a lot of us bring in our own snacks and stuff. And then you're not going to doctor's appointments, taking phone calls, all that kind of stuff. You just the rest of the world goes away.
It's not real
And
life. Like,
right,
it's not real life.
and none of us turn on TVs. We don't. I mean, there's TVs in the
Yeah.
rooms. None of us
I
turn on the TVs.
I
None of us
had
even
thought
look at it.
I thought there weren't TVs up there. As a matter of fact, I think told somebody that. And then when I last went up there, I'm like, oh, there is a TV. I just never even turned it on and noticed it, because that was not the important thing.
Well, I've noticed them, like, especially in like the cabin where I'm going to be in, because it's right there on the big wall across from the couch, and so you notice it. But I've never turned it on. It just isn't a thing I do, and I go up with a lot of music ready to play and my headphones, and I just dig in, and it's beautiful for that. And so that has been, and this year, I think your session is in end of February
No, March,
or
early
end or
March.
beginning of March, early
Yep,
March, and
beginning of
then
March. Yeah.
mine's the fourth session, which is right after that, which is around
Yeah,
mid
middle
March.
March. Yeah.
Which okay, so the other thing about Rainforest is where it occurs is sometimes there's snow, depending on the if
I've been
session
up there
one
with the
will
snow.
often get snow,
Hmm.
and session and but it's been a little bit warmer the past couple of years, and then
It snowed when I was up there last.
okay, yeah, and then the later on it gets beautiful, right? I usually take my 4-wheel drive truck up there because I don't want to get stuck in the snow. But we have been there before where it rained so hard that the lower building, when John Pitts was alive and he was there, he and his wife had to use waders or take a little boat from the lower cabin area on up to the rest of it, which
Well,
was
what's funny is
hilarious.
that it's literally on the lake, and it's kind of hard
Yeah,
to describe, but there's a little road and then there's a driveway, and down the driveway is where the cabins are. And then then there's the lake a little further down from that. And right there on the lake is where the RV parking spaces, which is, I think they're concrete pads, but it's basically in grass. And then they have a second little, I think they call them the townhouses. It's like a
I
two
don't remember what they
apartment
call
you
them.
can
Yeah,
rent or
something like
something,
that.
but you can only rent the top floor because the bottom floor floods. And just to let you know how often that place floods, because it is a rainforest and you're going up in the spring, February and March, the lodge has rescue boats that they bring out to pull people up out of those, like you
Right,
said, like
yeah,
John Pitts, up out of those spaces when it floods. They've got, oh yeah, we'll take the little boat down there and come get you. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so common. They've got it figured out for
right.
how to get their guests out of the flooded place. So yeah, it's a rainforest. It rains. The last time I was up there, they had a storm come through, and the storm hit so hard and the lightning hit so hard, I thought a tree had hit my cabin.
Oh
It
wow.
shook. The whole cabin shook. It was dark. Our electricity went out. I got up and got ready because I'm like, well, if I need to get out of here, I need to be ready. And there were a couple of big limbs that had fallen on somebody's car, like had dented
Oh
it.
wow.
Yeah, because
Wow.
there was a big storm that windstorm that came through. So you are in the middle of a forest.
And obviously, we were both looking forward to this. I missed it last year because I had COVID, which was very, very disappointing for me. And it was a pretty good case of it. So this year, I am not going to have COVID.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but we're about 20 minutes in. So should we switch to talking about what we're up to these days and where we're at?
Sure, because we just talked about what we hope to get done up in Rainforest, which we'll check back in and let you know
Yeah, yeah.
if we followed our own plan.
Well,
We're not
that and
necessarily the best at that.
I'm going to be outlining for it, so I may talk a little bit about it before I get there because I'm a pantser in general, but I'm working on learning the plot better. Which I was working on my plot for another book last night, and it's like it's kind of coming together. It's I don't have it overall, but I'm figuring out. I think the tent poles, which is huge, huge.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
I'm also telling myself, sprinkle in a little bit of this and a little bit of that. There, these characters, you can just sprinkle them in as they come. And I'm like, that's not the way I've ever tried to outline before, but maybe it is. But this is an ongoing series. So, like you're kind of familiar with the ordinary boats, you're kind of familiar with the characters and familiar with the people. So, at least you can do that. But tell us how things are going for you with what you're writing right now.
So right now I'm writing the cozy fantasy mysteries that are going to be set in Ordinary Oregon, which is the Ordinary Magic books. So it's in that town in Oregon, which is a little beach town where the gods vacation and the monsters reside. And all sorts of hijinks and shenanigans happen there. It's very much a fun, lighter urban fantasy that I wrote that series. So now I'm writing a fun, lighter, cozy mystery fantasy set in the same place. So, like we were talking just briefly before this, it's easy because I know the place, I know the people, I know the rules, I know the fun, I know the type of sense of humor. And so I'm just rolling into book one, and I've been started it in January, and my goal is to get it finished, the draft of it finished, written in January. So, like you, I'm doing something a little different with outlines because I am an outliner, but I've always just followed the writer's journey or the hero's journey, which is your basic story beats. I've also studied or followed Romancing the Beat for plotting out a romance story, and I've read Save the Cat, which is another one that is another way to plot. I've read a lot of different plotting
Yeah, me
or
too.
styles. What I've found is that all outlines basically are telling you the same thing. It's all the same story
Mm-hmm.
beats. It's just how the person who's explaining the outline sets those beats up, the language that they use to explain it, and how they break those beats across a novel length work. So it's what's really great is it's all pretty much the same stuff. So if you find an outlining style that works for you, just go for it because it's going to work. That's great.
Yeah.
If you find one that isn't working for you, don't hold on to it. Do something else because you're going to find the one that fits, right?
One hopes you're
So
going to find the one that fits.
yeah, you will. You
It's
absolutely
like
will.
Cinderella. Does this outline fit your foot?
Yeah, exactly. But you will find the perfect shoe. But I'm trying a new outline, and I can't remember the name of the writer right now, but she talks about step by step for how to outline a cozy mystery, and she's specifically talking about the genre of cozy mystery, not cozy fantasy mystery. So, I'm taking her outline structure and I'm putting that into my outline style, but I'm following her beat by beat to make sure that my cozy fantasy mystery hits all the right things that cozy mystery readers would want in a book. So that's been a new experience for me and I'm enjoying it, and it is still the same kind of story. I feel like it's that same it's a it's a story. Like it has a beginning,
Right.
it has a
Yeah.
middle, it has an
Mm-hmm.
end, right? But it comes about just a little bit differently. It's slightly different spots. You do slightly different things before or
Sure.
after, but it's still rolling out very nicely as a story. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm kind of learning a new outline style or a new genre style a little bit, but in my
Hey,
old
did you
familiar stuff.
question? Did you figure out all the? I thought of this the other day, and I wanted to ask you. Did you figure out like a lot of the red herrings, or have some of those popped up as you come along?
Um, I had a list of them, and then I picked the ones that I thought would be the most, so you brainstorm a list of them. I picked out the ones that I thought would be the most useful, and then I just kept a little running tab, like, should I add this in? And then, like, I just got to chapter, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of the book, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go put that back in chapter two. So I went back and put in one of the things that you need to know for this to work out. Now, I won't know if I actually do need it. I think I do until I finish the book. When the book is done, I'll know if that clue paid off. And if for some reason it didn't or it doesn't make any sense, I'll just go take
Right.
it out again. So there is
When
going to be, there's a little bit of me shoving things in and pulling things out.
I always, when I think of doing mysteries, one of the concerns I always have is it going to be too easy to solve? Do I have enough? Uh,
And I think mysteries are cozy. Now we're talking cozy mysteries, and I think
right.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
important to have an interesting mystery. But I want to say that most people go to cozy mystery because they want to hang out in that quirky town. They want to solve the
Yep.
mystery, but they want to see what's going on with all the quirky people, and they want to go to all the quirky places, and they want to have the experience of solving the crime. So
Well,
I
that,
think
and they want a quirky mystery itself too, right?
right, right. But I don't think you have to be an like a brain breaker. You don't have to like,
Yeah, you have
haha,
to
you'll
have.
never figure this out. And at the end of the book, I'm the only one who knows. I'm never going to tell you. Like, I don't think readers want that experience. They want to have an idea of who did it. And if they're right at the end, they can be like, oh, well, yeah, I was right at the end. Right. So I don't think you have to make them fail to have a good time
Right.
at the
Right. Right.
mystery.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I just always worry that it'll be just simply too straightforward if I do it.
I
But I
don't think
worry
it,
about that with regular plotting too. Like, are
oh,
people going to see this coming a mile away?
nobody's
And
in
then
your brain. They have no idea.
well, it's so obvious to me because I am, Oz. Yeah. So I.
So what are you working on? You're working on with your work right now? Because
Well,
you
I'm
mentioned that you're doing outlining, which you don't usually do. And we've had some
right.
conversations about that. If it's a good idea to do outlining if you don't usually do outlining.
Right, and I am outlining, which is for new uh, mission magic books and new everyday disasters books, and the idea because I'm outlining those because I want a better sense of what the arc is. I'm outlining in three books, so I'll have a sense of the arc over three books, and that doesn't mean the end of the series. It just means that that's the arc for those three books, and then I can move along to the next things, right? And so I am working on that, and we can talk about that another time, but I've been working on for a while. This it started out as kind of a side project and became the main project. And right now, the working title is Drag, because that just is. And I'm. It was meant to be a shorter book, and I'm 84,000 words in now, and I'm not done. And okay, so all along, I knew who the bad guy was and who the worst guy was, and the bad guy is sort of a misunderstood.
Oh,
He's
you don't want
doing
to give it
something.
away?
He's doing stuff for the right reasons, right? But you don't know that.
Okay.
And then the real bad guy, I knew he was the real bad guy and that he was up to something, but I never figured out what he was up to. I just sort of let it play out. I was like, I'll figure that out later. It'll come to me. I'll figure that out later. It'll come to me. And I kept saying that to myself. And now we're there. And so I had to spend some time brainstorming what actually is he up to? What's his goal here? Why is he doing this? And then why did he want this to be included into his stirring the pot? And so I had to do a brainstorm to figure that out. And so because otherwise I was stopped because at this point I had that had to go in the book. And so I figured it out. And so then I started pushing forward into this is the end. This is the dramatic ending. In the end, it's going to be a good, 20,000, 25,000 words. It's not a short ending, but this is the end. You got to know what your bad guy's trying to do. You got to show how he's trying to do it. You got to have the good guys come in and say, no, you can't do it. And then the kind of whatever battle, and then the denouement and all that. But I wrote most of the book not knowing just that he was bad. It's like, well, right now I'm plotting a certain thing in the uh, everyday disasters books, which are the fun and funeral books, and everybody. I've set this up. I have to figure out how to rescue the gargoyles. Right, it's been coming, and so right now the outline goes by the end of the book. I have to have freed them.
Right. And I think there is flex in outlines, which I think this is a whole series we should do about outlines and
Yeah.
experiencing them and how they work. Because quite often for me, an outline works until about halfway through the book, right about where you're at. Well, no, you're almost at the end, but about halfway
Yeah,
through the book, usually for me, my outline is like what has happened before has changed enough that what I thought was going to happen has to change. And
sure.
so I will re outline somewhere about halfway. I've talked about this in the past. And then it will also stop working 3/4 of the way through because I thought the last half of the book was going to go this way, and half of that, by the time I get halfway through that, oh no, that's changed too. And then I re outline, it's kind of a backward outline, look at what I've got, and then figure out what goes. But even with that being said, the ending scene that I know when I first begin writing the book will always still be the ending scene or at the end of the book. There might be a scene after it, but it's always right there. So I'm always aiming for that point, but there are times when I have to adjust which road I'm taking to that point. And I think outlines for me should be flexible in that way because the
Yeah.
story will tell you what it is. And sometimes you have to follow where the story is showing you is the best way to go.
It's funny in my Trace of Magic books. Um, for one of them, I had one of those scenes in mind. I had this idea. I had it in my head. Not, I mean, I can't visualize things. I'm mind blind. I'm whatever. But I had this idea of what this scene would be. It never showed up in any of the books.
Oh, funny. You should write
It
it as
never
something on
did.
the side for your readers.
No, it's not really a scene. It's just this sort of image that I was like, this is going to be the carry away image, and it never got there because it never fit. But that particular image didn't. But yet the stuff around it that it implied that image did fit. It just didn't. When I got there, I was like, that image isn't strong enough. That isn't going to work. So I'm going to go with something different. Um, but it was one that kind of carried me through the whole book. I was shooting for that, and even though I never got there, it carried me to the end of the book. But with me for outlining, what I'm trying to do is at least have tent poles so I have an idea of where I'm shooting for so that I at least can head in that direction. Because so often of late, I just simply have no idea. I have ideas at the beginning and where I want to start with, but no idea where it's going to end up. And and that causes me a lot of slowness, which we talked about why I don't want to be slow. And it causes a lot of stress and anxiety because I start to panic about all kinds of stuff like I should have known that I'm a bad writer, and it causes whatever problems. So uh, in this case, I want to have a sense of what those that 3 book arc is going to look like so that I can structure toward at least that. Because a lot of the times I write these multi-book series and I write one and then I think up the next one and I write it and then I think up the next one and write it and I don't
I
have
can't
a
do that.
and it pulls together. The weird part is
Of course
my
it
brain
does.
does work that way.
Right.
It
No, of
pulls
course it
everything
does.
together, but it's really anxious. I get a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety out of
I
it.
I
So
think in 3 book arcs, I always have it just makes sense for exactly what you're saying. You can set this is this little story in each book. This is the bigger story that's going to carry across all 3 of these books. And here's a big story that's going to carry across 6 books or 9 books or,
right, yeah,
however many you're putting in there. So thinking in threes works for me for outlining and stuff. What's interesting about this outline that I'm following this time is it is much more detailed than I usually outline. I'm not saying it's like
right,
10,000 words, but it's basically I know what needs to happen in each chapter. And I don't usually go that way. I just know what
right.
needs to happen by about halfway through the book or, 3/4 of the way through the book. If that takes 2 chapters, that doesn't matter. But this is all about no, no, no. By this chapter, you need to have this happen, and I'm like, okay, so I'm going to follow these rules and see if it gets an interesting book out of it. I'm having fun because it's
Right.
something
Well, that's
new.
the important thing. It's like with a recipe. The first time I make a recipe, I tend to follow it and then just to see what it's supposed to be. And then I'm like, okay, no, I want to change it up and I'm going to do different things and I'm going to do it completely different. And, and so you're kind of taking that, uh, and running with that.
Mhm.
And with that, I should say we've run out of time.
Oh, we're out of time.
We're out of time. So I'm trying to think of smart and intelligent things to say at the end, but mostly I'm just going to say I forgot to say hi and welcome to everybody. So now I'm going to say hi and welcome. welcome, and thanks for listening. And we're so glad to have you. And please, we have a couple other videos, and we will have more. And click through to our websites if you want to read some samples of things. And we're so glad to have you. And if you have any questions or anything you want to say, please do. And over to you, Devon.
Yeah, hit that little subscribe button or that little like button. Anytime you hit the like button on these videos, it helps other people find them. So, and it's free. So just hit the little like button. And if you want, subscribe to us, because then you'll get the notification for when we put up another video, because we haven't quite gotten into our even video pace yet. We're trying to figure out how often is the right amount of time for both of us, right? So click subscribe and you'll always know when we have a new video up. And yeah, thank you for being here. And until next time, happy reading to you, right? And to you, Di.
And to you.
Thank you.